I never make any type of video where I talk about myself, but here we go. It's my first time. I'm sure you've already seen so many like commentary videos, but I don't know. I'd rather just try this stuff out and see how much interaction I get really. For starters, I'm playing 408. I play rhythm games. Currently, I'm playing BMS, which is what is being shown on the video, and I really enjoy Tahoe. I even named myself after a character. Crazy, right? I've still yet to have a 1cc on one of the Touhou games, but you know, they're pretty hard, in my opinion. I'm not the best at Danmakus, but I'm trying my best, just having fun with it. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about my story with them games and why I connect with them so much. Really, it all started during 2018, I would say. I think that was the first time I ever got exposed to in the game. If you know Cookie Z, then you know what game I'm talking about. Obviously, it's Osu. Back then, there weren't many things I was playing at the time besides just little kid shit. I was not a very old person back then. I'm still pretty young right now, but yeah, I got exposed to Cookie Z on YouTube, and that's when I started playing Osu. But I do remember that year I quit Osu for a very long time. Fast forward a few years, my friend got me back into Osu, just playing it, and I never really got too good at it. I was stuck as a six digit, so I mostly had my fun just playing with my friends. Eventually, at one point, my friend decided to show me what it was like to play Osu Mania 4K. Basically, all the DDR stuff on keyboard. I've never seen it up until that point. I was very impressed by what he did, and I wanted to see what it was like. So I hopped into a map with him, a lobby, and he put on like some normal stuff, probably just what he was used to doing, and I couldn't comprehend how you would just press keys so fast to notes falling down your screen. I was so amazed. At that time, I really wanted to get better because I had nothing driving me to become a competitive person, so I really just wanted to work on myself. And at that moment, it was like the perfect opportunity to have some kind of way to express myself through video games. It's like a crazy thought, but that's what I came to the conclusion. It was, just have fun. I got decent enough at it that I actually just started to play by myself more because my friends were usually offline or whenever they weren't available. I would just like grind every single hour of my life. This was during the pandemic where you couldn't really just go outside unless you needed necessities or whatever. But when you're stuck being young, all you can think about is just having fun playing video games at the time. These former friends, I actually had to not be friends with them anymore. We had a falling out, but I'm forever grateful for the memories they've shared with me throughout many years of my life, and I hope I had an impact on their life too. Even though we may not have ended our friendship in the best of terms, it wasn't too bad. It could have been worse. We could have, hated each other for the rest of our lives. But yeah, I think the only thing I took away from that was memories and just having a new hobby, which was rhythm games. I used to play a lot of FPS. I used to play Counter Strike a lot, but I wasn't that crazy at it. I didn't have no competitive rank. I wasn't global elite. I wasn't even silver. I usually just messed around on it, and that was just one of the ways I played FPS. I usually just played rhythm games at home for about 2 or 3 years. It was about the only genre I actually enjoyed playing, and I didn't get tired of at all. I think something interesting I've learned after playing rhythm games for a little time is that it encourages you to just become better by yourself and really not rely on anyone else. Sure, you might get advice from other people, or maybe someone would actually mentor you, but in reality, all of the hard work is done by yourself. All the learning, all the reading, all the patterns, all the music notes that you have in your head is really just a culmination of whatever you learned so far. It's the reason why games like 2DX, for example, have been around for so long. There's so many older players I see that usually are on the game, and they've just been sticking with it for probably decades at this point. A lot of Japanese players might have been sticking around for decades too, even longer than all the Western players that are here in the US. The point I'm trying to get at here is that rhythm games are one of the things that just keep me hooked for so long, and I find genuine enjoyment out of it, and I find meaning through it. I find so many things that I've learned and so many just lessons that have stuck with me for so long. For example, whenever I'm playing a really long map, a 5 minute map, or that really is stamina intensive and that just requires your entire attention just fixated on your monitor, it really just, it's really grueling to go through so many patterns just coming down on your screen, and the satisfaction that when you get to the end, it's finally over, you didn't give up. I think that's such a beautiful thing to learn, is that about yourself, you're not gonna give up, and you really just completed a song that billions of other people don't even know the existence of what you just did. Even though it's not the most difficult thing on the planet, it's there. It's the fact that you did something that others couldn't, and you stuck around. You felt it was so difficult, and you learned how to become a better player that day. It wasn't even just become a better player, it was you found something about your character. And I realized that about rhythm games. It really just drives home that besides having fun, if you really think about it, there's something that just makes you a better person in a way. I can't speak for everyone, of course, but that's just my experience. Eventually, around late 2023, in November or December, my old friend from middle school, let's call him Tris. Yeah, that's a good name, I think. Tris, he shot me a DM while I was visiting my local mall, and he said, "Hey, are you here?" Or something along the lines. I actually don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember he told me that he was at the local mall, and I was like, "Oh shoot, me too. I'm over there too." And he said that he was eating at the buffet or something, and after he was done, he would come meet up with me, and I was like so stoked. I was like, "Oh shoot, I haven't seen this guy in forever. It's been how many years, right?" This was after so many things that had happened, and we were all so busy with our lives, but he came up to me, and we dapped each other up, had our greetings and stuff, just caught up on life. And eventually he would go to Round One, this Japanese arcade chain that actually got a branch in the United States, mostly in major cities, and they housed rhythm games. At that point, I didn't know there were many fun games over there, let's say. And I just followed him blindly. I was like, okay, we're gonna hang out on Round One. And as soon as he introduced me to the DDR pad, I was like, wait, you know how to play this? I was immediately stunned by how he was just so casually just playing, and he wasn't even batting an eye. He was just focused on the screen, just hitting all the arrows. I think he was playing doubles too. I was so impressed by it. I was like, what? How do you even get good at this? And that really sparks my interest in not just rhythm games in general, but the arcade rhythm games, where you're going to see all the players who are really good and actually go outside. You really see in person what it's like for a veteran just going crazy on the buttons, on the pad, just reading the most dense pattern that you've ever seen in your life. It makes you question whether they're just memorizing it or you're just in awe at that point. I was no stranger to rhythm games, of course, but I've never really been exposed to other stuff besides you can do music games on a keyboard or on VR, something like Beat Saber, for example. But to really show up at an arcade and just see somebody play so casually and so effortlessly, there was no way you can just have prior knowledge of how someone does that until you see it in real life and you realize that, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And that's my reaction to him. He was so good at what he did that it began to stick in my mind where, like, what time I would go there again, and I would eventually have to make time. And he introduced me to other arcade rhythm games besides DDR. One prevalent one was arguably the most important one, which was Sound Voltex. It was not his main game. He had his toes dipped into it at the time, but he really didn't main that game, so to speak. I think he was more interested in another game which actually helped shape my love for rhythm games, which was Dance Rush Stardom. If you know what that game is, it's basically a harder version of DDR in some ways, but also easier. It's less strict in the way that you have to not hit arrows. It's really easy just to step. You could get somebody who's so foreign to rhythm games and they could start playing Dance Rush the moment you hand them the tutorial and the credits to play the game. But what really interested me was he was so good at it, like at shuffling. You have to shuffle dance to play Dance Rush. For any newcomers, you have to learn how to just move your legs in a way that just correlates with the stuff on the screen. That sounds like any other dance game on the arcade, but it's different in the way that you can stylize how you play. You can express yourself through the game, and you don't have to just arbitrarily have the same arrows coming up and down onto your feet in that sense. Because of my prior knowledge of playing 4K on Osumania, I began to love Sound Voltex so much. It was just the game I always thought about for a few months before I eventually just caved in and bought a controller for myself. It's sitting right here next to me on my desk, and whenever I want, I could play Sound Voltex. But the only thing that bothered me was that the arcade was totally different than grinding at home, just by yourself in your room, all quiet, and all of you can hear is just the music in your headphones and the keyboard that you're smashing currently. Unless you have a controller, of course, where you have really loud buttons and a turntable or knobs or whatever it's called that you have. And it's shaking the table so hard that even your roommates are getting annoyed that you're playing this stupid game that is so obnoxious to them. You even just ponder on why you even started playing this game. I'm getting off track, but yeah, it's so unique, really, the experience of going to the arcade, because it's a way you can play rhythm games, but with somebody in person, and they enjoy the same hobby as you, the same video game as you. It's almost like the 2000s era where you could just go to somebody's house and they have a spare controller and you can play split screen on that TV, just playing Halo or whatever. But I imagine many people from today's era doesn't really know what it's like to have that same experience. Unless you go to an arcade and you're just having fun playing the same game, you will never know what it's like to have that connection and to share a hobby with someone completely not even known to you. I could name so many experiences where I met somebody in the arcade and we just connected because of one thing and one thing only. It was for the love of playing and smashing keys to music. I actually met this one person, let's call him Glasses, because yeah, he had glasses. He's a very good friend of mine and I consider him amazing as a person. He may not be the best rhythm game player I know, but he is an amazing character, and I would regret to never have met him or have a conversation with him. I initiated a conversation with him because he watched me play Sound Voltex, and it was just amazing how he was just, spectating me, and I had the courage to talk to him, and we suddenly have so many things we're related with. We're so intertwined in our interest and our hobbies that we just became closer and became, friends. But nowadays, like in COVID, like before I went to the arcade, I play rhythm games solely because it's just a way I can express myself, just a way to escape reality in some form or another, where I can just press keys and I can forget about the world for the next 3 minutes or however long that song is. God help you if that song is 10 minutes or more. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed whatever I had to talk about, because I don't know, I'm not really a talkative person. I don't really put myself on the internet. This is probably the first time I'm even doing this. I'm just trying something new. And well, I hope you were a Rhythm King player and you could relate to what I'm saying. And I also hope you were someone who learned something about rhythm games. And I really appreciate you for listening through the whole entire video. Unless you didn't and skipped ahead. And well, yeah, this is Flan408 signing off.